Welcome to the podcast, everybody. I am your host, Shelby, and I'm here with my co-host, Taylor, for Champs Drink Champs.
Hi, guys. Cheers.
I was listening to a podcast today, and they introed like that, and I was like, how interesting. I don't think I've ever introduced myself as a host. I'm going to do that today. So
It's so fancy.
that was fancy, and welcome to the podcast. I am officially back on the wine train. Got a little Halloween cup. I put it through the dishwasher, so I lost my little face, but I'm slowly back on the wine train.
I think it was good to have a little break.
It was very nice. Sorry, I can't talk to you right now. Anyways, it was nice to take a little break, and it was helpful because I still don't have the desire or the want for wine the way that I normally would. And so there's definitely days where I'm not really having some. The only reason I have wine right now is because I was putting my Halloween decorations up on Monday night, and I was like, I can't do this without wine. Like, this is what I do.
True. Yeah.
This is what brings me joy, is like setting up decorations, having either a glass of champagne or a glass of wine. And then I saw my Halloween wine cups, and I was like, I kept trying to set up the decorations, and I was like, I'm going to do it. It's fine. Like, you don't even really want it. And then I was like, fuck you. This isn't what you do. So I
have to have wine when I'm decorating too.
I think I had maybe this tiny bit of wine, and it probably took me 2 hours to drink that, because it was just it was my first red wine, I think, since I've been hungover. And it took me a very long time to drink that tiny bit. And then the next night I had more decorations I still had to put up. So I was like, okay, I'll have a little bit more. And so I had a very, very tiny amount then. So it's a journey, and I'm back on that journey. Taylor, I think, helped me break that seal with a Chardonnay, but your girl can't hang with a wine hangover anymore.
They suck so bad.
Yeah.
They're like, wine hangovers are the worst hangovers, I think.
I agree with that. Taylor has a very exciting announcement.
I did my first ketamine treatment, and it is very exciting. It really is exciting. It was completely different than I expected it to be. I don't really know what I expected, to be honest, but I was very nervous. Like, when I got there, my blood pressure was very high because I was so I don't like being out of control. And with ketamine, you're not in control at all. And so that was very scary, but I'm still a little confused, but I feel like I'm slowly putting the pieces back together. So if you've ever researched any psychedelics at all, people get they call them downloads, and it's where something that happened during the trip essentially makes sense. And I never understood that until today, because I got done yesterday. I got home at 3:30, and I literally slept the entire night. Tony woke me up to eat dinner, and then he woke me up again to take a shower, and I just could not wake up. I was so tired, and this morning I was still really tired and really disconnected from my body. I feel a lot better now, but all day I've just kind of been getting those downloads of this is what this was about, this is what it means. So I don't know, it was very interesting.
Did you know that was going to happen, that you'd be wiped out?
People said that it does happen, but I did not expect it to be the entire day. Wednesdays are my only day off during the week, and they're when I get a lot of stuff done. I clean my house, I do homework, I do just little tasks around the house, put my laundry away, I go grocery shopping sometimes. They're really my day I get shit done. So the fact that the entire day was taken from me, I was like, damn, that really sucks, because I wasn't expecting the whole day to be gone.
That would be a bit rough for me to think I'm going in for just this little temporary couple hour thing, and then suddenly my whole day is gone. So I would be a bit bothered.
Yeah, people said that you need to sleep after. So I thought, okay, I'll get home, I'll take like an hour, hour and a half nap, and then I'll wake up and I'll be good for the night. That's not the case at all. Like, I didn't even blow dry my hair last night because I just did not have the energy to do it. So
Is that where these cute curls are coming from?
yeah, my natural curls that are, yeah, so it was just very interesting. So I've never done psychedelics before. The drug that I've done, which I don't even consider these drugs because they're in like healing places.
Wait,
I've
time out.
yeah.
Ketamine, like what kind of drug psychedelic is it? Like, does it come from something that's like common that we already know, or is this like a completely different psychedelic?
So it is like I don't really know exactly. They use it for like surgeries to like put you to sleep for surgeries. They'll use ketamine or like ketamine with a mix of something. So I think it's more like I don't know. I need to research it more. It's not like a plant. It's not like I don't know. I don't know exactly what it is. I guess
Okay.
I should figure that out. But yeah.
I mean, you work there, so I would hope that you would know this.
Yeah. I will find out and I will get back to you guys.
I'm
So
a
I've
bit
never
spicy today, so if I'm a very smart ass person, I'll get into that later why I am, but yes.
so yeah, I've never done any sort of psychedelics at all. I've smoked weed, I've ingested weed in the form of oil and edibles, and I've smoked it. So that's like my extent of anything different outside of like prescriptions. Which don't have a prescription problem. That totally just sounded like I abuse prescriptions and I don't. But anyways, so I had no idea like what to expect, and that was very scary. So when you get it injected, it's a shot that you get in your arm, and it takes maybe 5 minutes to kick in. And the only thing that I can explain that would make sense is that, you know, in Alice in Wonderland, when Alice is like falling down the rabbit hole, like backwards, and her legs are up and she's like, ah, that's exactly what it felt like. And that's like what I pictured, is that I was just falling down this hole, and like there's nothing you can do. Like, you're out of control. You have no control of anything.
Did you freak out? Did that freak you out?
No, like I thought that it would, but it was actually really calming. It wasn't scary. It wasn't scary at all. There was one time that I did get scared, and I'll get to that part, but
that is scaring me, just the thought of that.
It was actually like very calming. Like, it wasn't scary at all. And then it got so I was wearing an eye mask, but it wasn't like, it got pitch black. Like, I literally could not see anything. And my eyes were closed, but like, I don't know. It's so hard to explain. It's so hard to explain. So I'm going to try my best, but it got pitch black, and I saw like the chakra system in front of me, and I saw each part of the chakra system explode into like powder colors. Like, it was like a spinning circle, and then it got really, really big, and then like exploded, and there was like colorful powder everywhere. And
what the fuck?
I know, it sounds so crazy.
Does this happen to everyone, or is everyone's trip just different?
Everyone's is different, but a lot of people will see like shapes and colors, which I didn't see any person or anything. I saw colors, and I felt like feelings. I felt emotions so heavy. So anyways, I saw all of these chakras explode, and then when it got to the third eye, which is it's purple, it's the very top of the chakra system, and it's like right in your forehead right here. And that's like when you open up your third eye, it's like your intuition, it's your spirituality, like it holds a lot of significance. And that like was the biggest explosion that I saw, and everything had like a purple tint to it after that. Like, no matter what I saw, it was always like purple.
It's freaking me out.
So then after that, this was the craziest part, and this is what kind of downloaded to me today, is I kept like, it was me talking to me, because this ketamine taps into your subconscious. So it was like my subconscious or my soul self talking to me, And it said, and it kept saying, where's Gypsy? Who is Gypsy? Where is Gypsy? Like throughout my whole 2 hours, I kept hearing myself say, who's Gypsy? Who's Gypsy? Like I was like, couldn't remember her, which is so weird. And it made sense today. I got a download that it said, like, it made, like, it just kind of hit me that I was like, I was asking myself that because one of my fears of death is that I'm going to forget somebody. Like, I'm going to forget them, or like all of a sudden the memories, like, I'll get old and I'll just not remember them. So I feel like that was like a huge piece that I've been trying to figure out, like, why I'm so afraid of death. And it was throughout my whole experience. I just kept getting like this, who is Gypsy? Who's Gypsy? And so, yeah, it made sense to me today that I was like, oh my God, that's why I kept asking for that whole experience. Like, who is Gypsy? Because I'm afraid that if somebody dies, I'm just not going to remember them. So I feel like I got a lot of pieces of a puzzle, but I didn't get the whole puzzle. And so that's why it makes sense to me to do it in a series of 6, because I feel like you just get little bits and pieces, but you don't get the whole thing. So I feel like you have to complete the series so that you know what's going on. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Well, it would make sense that you couldn't handle too many things, like too much of it at one time, like too many things hitting you at one time, because then it wouldn't make sense. You would just get
So, and then that was what was, so, okay. So after that, after I started asking like, who is Gypsy, blah, 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 I started just feeling this intense sadness for loss. Like, and that's the only thing, like, I could just see, like, I could just feel losing somebody or losing something. And I was just like crying, but I didn't know I was actually crying, like as my full person. I thought just like my soul was crying. But like when I lifted up my eye mask after, like my eye mask was just soaked. And so I felt just like this insane sadness, this insane feeling of loss. And then I got my second injection, and the same thing happened, like falling down the rabbit hole. And then I started feeling like I was getting sucked into the corner of the room, and it was like getting really black and like gray and scary. And Tony even said that. I told him, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm scared. I can't do that. And then it was almost like I heard my soul go, okay, we're not going to deal with that today. And then I like feel like I got slingshotted forward, and I was in like a Disneyland looking place, and there was like rainbows and clouds everywhere. And then I just felt this insane feeling of gratitude and love. And like, there's no way to explain how it felt, but my soul was telling me like, you need to be so grateful for your life and like the people that you have and the experiences that you have, and you have so much love in your life. And like, I could feel that. And it was the most peaceful, joyous, loving feeling ever. And that was how like my thing ended, is that I was just in that peaceful, loving place, and I could just feel like I would feel like the person was standing next to me, and I would feel their love that they had for me. And then like they would go away and somebody else would come, and I would like feel that, and then I would feel like the gratitude I had for them. So it was very interesting. And that's kind of how it ended. So the only like download that I got today was that big piece of loss, which I've been trying to figure out why I'm so afraid of death for so long. And so like that was something that I've never thought like, oh, maybe that's why I'm afraid of it. So that was very interesting. But I feel like I'm grateful for my life and the things that I have, but I haven't ever felt that gratitude or that love that I felt with that.
I do think sometimes because you're so fearful of losing people or what's going to happen, or you're just like living in that anxious state, I do sometimes really think you're missing out on like the actual aspects of life, because you do get like crippled by that anxiety, and it masks the actual joy. It's kind of like what I was saying to you this weekend when we like hung out, where I was like, you haven't been like the regular Taylor, like the Taylor that's just like full of life and like full of like who you've been. And I think that this is a huge part of it. Like your fear of like what's going to happen has crippled you, and it's made it so you live less full, I would say, because you're just like really stressed out.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely agree with that.
I have some fucking facts that I have researched while you've been discussing ketamine.
Okay. Okay.
Ketamine is an anesthetic. I think
Okay.
that's how you say that word.
Mhm.
It was it came because it used to be used for fucking animals back in the day. It would be like used on cats, or it was like, it started out for monkeys. They would use it as an anesthetic for monkeys. So I found that out, but then I found out some other really silly things. Um, so yeah, it's like a pretty extreme thing. I didn't fully realize like what it was. So this makes sense why it's like needs to be in a controlled environment. Um, People use it for sexual assault.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I could definitely see that because I had no idea. I had to, because I asked Tony to be there for my first appointment because I was just so scared. And there was a few times that like, I don't really remember any of this, but he's like, yeah, there were for sure a few times that you were like, hey, are you still here? Am I still in the room? Like, am I still in the chair? And he would just be like, yes, it's okay. Like, just calm down, just breathe. So I could definitely see that because I had no fucking idea what was going on around me.
That's crazy that you could hear him and like understand him.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely like relaxes you, makes you calm. Immobility, takes away pain, amnesia, like all of these different things. It makes it so you like just you're wiped out. It's apparently called the club drug, and it's used at raves, nightclubs, private parties, street sells, and people snort it. It can come in a powdered form.
Sick.
It's like pretty intense. People definitely like do bumps of it, and people use it in combination with meth and cocaine, which goddamn.
What?
Yeah, I'm reading this off of the DEA's website for this drug. It's like a drug fact sheet, and the common street names are the cat tranquilizer, cat Valium, Kit Kat, Special K,
What
Special
the fuck?
Special Lacoke, Super Acid, Super K, and Vitamin K.
And it's completely legal, you guys. Like in the state of Utah, and actually many states, it's completely legal.
Like someone could just get this vial and they would not get in trouble.
Yeah, they're trying to make it legal over the counter right now.
What the fuck? People
Like
can,
mhm.
that stresses me out.
I would never do it not being under control because a lot of stuff can go wrong with it. Like if it can make your blood pressure spike up, like you're literally in a different world there. Like you're in a different world.
Yeah, it says it's a dissociative anesthetic that has
Janet?
hallucinogenic effects. It distorts perceptions of sight and sound and makes the user feel disconnected and not in control. It's injectable, short acting, and is for use in humans and animals. It
Interesting.
can induce a state of sedation, feeling calm and relaxed, immobility, and relief from pain.
Interesting. Well, there you go, guys.
That scares me that could be legal, because if it does this and also that people use it to facilitate sexual assault, that fucking stresses me out even more.
Yeah. And what's scary about that is you would have no idea that you were being sexual. Like I had no idea. There was a point that like I asked for Tony's hand and I was holding his hand, but it didn't feel like it was his hand. Like it felt like
Do you know what stresses me
nothing.
out about this is, like I said in my episode, as I've like processed a lot of my situation, there's times where I think I've been like date raped, and that's exactly how I felt. It felt like Wally was like the person. It felt like I was still with Wally. And then like as I came to, I was suddenly like, wait a second, this isn't normal. Something is different. And like my eye, like everything was just black. And that's what I remember is like suddenly I was just asleep. And then like as like the motions were happening, I kept just being like, this is so weird. How did Wally like get touching me again? Like I thought I was asleep.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't
Very
know. That
similar
is
feeling for
interesting.
sure.
Yeah, it was very crazy. And I am very nervous because I don't necessarily like the feeling of it, but I do like the experience of it.
Like it was scary, but still comforting enough that you're not scared to do it again. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do know that there is something like when I felt like I was getting sucked into that corner, like there is something big and dark and scary that I need to deal with, but my soul was just kind of like, we're not going to do that today. We're going to focus on love and gratitude and all of this, and then we'll deal with
I'm
that another
scared of
day.
what that hole is. Like,
I
what the
know it
fuck?
was so weird. Like, and I seriously, and that's the point that I told Tony. I was like, oh no, I'm scared. Like, I don't want to do that. And then it was just like I was shot forward and I was in this happy, beautiful, loving place.
That's pretty intense, dude. So
Yeah.
how soon until you go back? Like 2 weeks, 1 week?
I think I'm going to try next Wednesday. I just need to get my schedule figured out now that I know I can't function after. So,
Do you think that subsides the more you do it, or do you think every time that's how it is?
I've kind of been talking to people who have done it, and they said that it kind of just depends. Where it is my first time, I'm not surprised that it knocked me out completely because I've never experienced anything like that. And it's not even that I was like
I
I was
cannot
super
believe you did
tired.
this.
I know. I was super tired, but like today when I woke up, if you've ever been extremely high, like where you smoke too much weed and you like just have a hard time functioning, you feel like you're moving through mud. That's how I felt today. And it started going away at about 1 o'clock. So about 24 hours after my first injection. And then I kind of was like, all right, I have feeling back in my fingers. Like it doesn't feel like I'm trudging through mud. So that's what I can incorporate, like, well, that's what I can say it's like afterwards. But yeah, for sure last night I was just so tired.
That is just insane. Insane.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Wow.
I'm excited to see what else I have up in this brain of mine, but I feel like that was like a really, really big piece of the puzzle that I've been searching for a really long time. That makes sense. So
Well, congratulations on that and for not dying.
thanks.
Very stressed still over here. Wow. I'm about as stressed over that as I am over Britney's nudes.
Yeah, Britney's nudes are a lot.
Dude, this last one was a
A
lot.
lot. Did
That
she get a
one,
boob job? That's my question. Or have they always been that big?
I think they've always been like that, to be honest.
Huh.
I'm just, I kind of forgot that she's still a loose cannon, and then I suddenly saw that and I was like, whoa, this is still happening.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like it's a lot for me to handle.
And like, I know there's like this constant back and forth with her mom making comments, and it's just like, I don't know what's happening at this point. Once the
Mhm.
K-Fed and the kid drama started happening, I feel like
I
I
can't
kind
keep
of,
up.
yeah, like I took a step back and I was like, I can't understand what's going on at this point. I'm just gonna like, I can't follow it. But then the nudes just like, they're just right there.
Yeah, yeah. Like they are just out loud and proud on Instagram.
The other one that I'm struggling to keep up with, but I kind of know a little bit about, is Kanye and the Kardashians. And what I know is that Kanye has lost his mind still. Some other celebrity, I can't remember her name right now, has like started kind of pitching in and like,
Candace Owens, right?
yeah, who is she?
I don't know exactly who she is. I think she has, I'm gonna have to Google it. I think she has like a podcast, maybe? Or she has something to do with sports. Let me see. She's an author, talk show host, political commentator, and activist.
Never heard of her.
Yeah,
Well,
so I
she's
don't
come
know.
to Kanye's defense, and Chloe Chloe finally like has said something to Kanye, and like now he's like raging at Chloe. And yeah, I just think it's fascinating that Kanye keeps like saying all this shit. I do believe the Kardashians, they're a lot, like fully support that. However, I still freaking love them, and don't believe they're witches, first of all. And I just feel really bad. Like I get the like fame, like this is just kind of what happens, and like apparently they're like these terrible people, but like the social media and bullying and like all of the chaos that happens, is just too much.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to think about Kanye. I think he actually like genuinely does have mental problems and I feel really bad for him.
I think he's kind of like Britney Spears right now too.
Yeah,
And like
like
she's like saying these things about the kids and like these
mhm.
scenarios, and then everyone else is like, that's not even what happened. And it's like, I
Like what do
honestly,
we believe?
I believe them, they seem more sane. And people that rage like this don't seem sane. And like Britney, like I can tell something's up with her, and Kanye, something is fucking wrong with him too. So it's like,
Mhm.
I just like can't fully support what they're throwing out there because I already feel like they have some problems they need to work through.
Mhm.
So that leaves me to believe the people that have a little bit more of a touch of reality, I guess. There's probably somewhere in the middle, there's something that's
Mhm.
true. But yeah,
I
that's
just hate that kids are dragged into all of this. Like, how embarrassing for his freaking kids. Like, he has a teenage daughter, and that's just embarrassing. Like, not only is your mom all over the news and all over social media and all this stuff, and now, like, your dad doing this crazy stuff, like, I just feel bad for the kids, and that just has to be so embarrassing.
same. A couple other things. I had someone reach out to me the other day because I was posting pictures of my decorations, and she brought up a very valid question and said I should ask this on the podcast. So I'm going to, but I'm also going to make sure that we do a question or like a poll on it. She believes that there are two types of people: Halloween people and Thanksgiving people, but there's not people that decorate for both. And so it's like there's either one or the other. And she was like, I don't get the Halloween stuff. I decorate for Thanksgiving. And I was like, what the fuck? Who decorates for Thanksgiving?
Like, pilgrims around?
I
Like,
mean,
those little pilgrim statues?
let me take that back. I do have some Thanksgiving decorations. They are more fall related. I do have one Thanksgiving thing that says gobble, very cute. I rarely put it up though because I don't actually like Thanksgiving, but I do sometimes if I'm going to be home for Thanksgiving, I'll put my fall back up and put that back out. So I do both. I think there's people
But
that are
is
crazy.
fall a Thanksgiving decoration? Or would that, because that's Halloween decoration to me.
No, fall is like it's the in-between filler for sure.
So I do both. I have my downstairs as
Do you have
fall.
pilgrims?
No, I just have pumpkins. And then I have upstairs as like my creepy Halloween vibes. So I do both, but I leave them all up until day after Thanksgiving and then I'll put my Christmas up.
I don't put any fall out while it's Halloween. So like there's no like happy fall, y'all. No leaves, nothing. It's all Halloween, straight Halloween.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh, I don't mix them.
I can't blend those at all. That fucks with me for sure.
Yeah, I can't mix them. And that's why I have downstairs one thing and upstairs the other. Like I don't mix them.
I'm gonna check into that. Which also makes me very concerned about the vibes I'm gonna feel at your Halloween party.
Why?
I'm gonna be upstairs having a Halloween costume party and then go downstairs and it's like Pioneer Day.
No, there's no pilgrims or pioneers down there.
I'm just kidding. But wait, you said fall's downstairs.
Yeah, but it's like pumpkins.
So I won't feel Halloween. I'll feel like
Well,
it's
like there's pumpkins mixed with like little cute ghosts. Like I guess what I should say is all my cute decorations are downstairs and I have like a little pumpkin patch downstairs. All my creepy decorations are upstairs. Like the creepy doll heads, the potion bottles, skeletons, all that is upstairs.
doll heads.
Yeah.
The fuck?
I
I'm
have
seeing the
doll
effort a
heads.
lot, dude. I told you I'm spicy today. I'm on one.
Why are you spicy?
Well, first of all, I've been up since 3:30, so you'd be surprised that I have this much energy, but
Yeah.
maybe this is where I thrive. I can't fully decide. But that actually isn't why I'm this spicy. Maybe it is. I don't really know. But I had an epiphany today, which I think ties into my spiciness slash energy. So, like I said, bug. We gotta get some bug spray in our houses.
For real. It's like these bugs want to be a part of our podcast.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to check my wine. So I was up since 3:30. I had a job interview at 6 a.m. It's so weird that I'm talking about this. It's so weird that this is public knowledge. Then I had a second job interview that was for the same job right after that. So then that's why I had to get up really early so I could work out. And then I went to work, dealt with some bullshit with my boss, went to lunch. I was supposed to go to lunch with my friend because we were like, there's so much fucking shit we got to deal with. But then she scheduled over lunch for like a work thing. So Wally conveniently had missed it. Had a work from home day. He was doing like a training or something that's like, hey, do you get lunch? Like we should meet up for lunch. And so he was like, actually, I just finished. Let's go to lunch. So we met at Trolley Wing Co. And
I love Trolley Wing Co.
Oh my gosh, they had the best waffle Cajun fries with habanero ranch, and
they're so good.
It was so fucking good. Anyway, so we went there for lunch, and I had just dealt with some really annoying stuff from my boss because he's having a very hard time that I'm looking for a new job. And I get there and I'm like talking Wally's ear off. Like I'm just like full of energy. I'm having like so much conversation. And I'm like driving back to, I came back to my house really fast, not to pull a nooner. I didn't want anyone to think that. And I came back to my house really fast and I'm like driving, and I have a lot of thoughts sometimes when I'm driving, and I had an epiphany, and I was like, wow, I just talked Wally's ear off. Like, that's so weird. I wish I could be like that more often, because when I get home from work and like in our regular routine of life, or even on like date nights on the weekend, like I'm just kind of like dead.
Tired. Yeah.
I was like, how weird that like that's happening to me. And I was like, what is different? And then I had this whole entire epiphany that I truly have been so depleted every day when I come home from work because of all the chaos and bullshit that I deal with, that I am like literally half-assed there most of the time. Like, not only that, I still have to deal with a bunch of other stuff. And it just like fully hit me how much like that toxic work culture has been playing into how depleted I am by the time I get home. By the time I get home, I don't want to talk about anything. I don't want to catch up on anything. I want to have like very basic conversations. I don't want my brain to use any brain power. And I was just like shocked by how long I've been dealing with this and not realizing how much of it was actually tied to the burnout and toxicity I'm experiencing at work. Shocked.
Yeah.
So I today have a lot of energy because I barely fucking worked, and I'm going to really try and thrive in this environment. And I think that's why Shelby has not been here. Like, I'm a smart ass. I'm doing funky stuff today.
First of all, by saying funky.
Exactly my point. I'm all over the place. You don't know what to expect. I'm about to be a smart ass on days like this if I can keep up this energy.
Well, I think that that's a great epiphany. And remember that one night, I don't even remember who was there, but we were really drunk. We were on your porch and we were telling you, it was me and somebody else, was like, it's not normal to not ever want to talk about your day. Who was that?
I mean, that I still fully support. I still don't want to talk about my day. I like to talk about other things. I just don't want to talk about my day. I don't remember who was there. I think my sister-in-law Emmy was there. Someone else was for sure there. But yeah, I don't particularly like replaying the things in my day. I would rather talk about other things happening in my life than my like day job.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I'm very happy that I've identified this, because awareness is key, everybody. If you have awareness on something, you can fix it.
Absolutely.
Last thing before we talk about our topic is that I forgot to mention while we were already talking about it, that Taylor's Halloween party is coming up, and I do not have a costume planned, nor do I know if I'm dressing up. And I can really use some support on very simple, comfortable costumes for someone that doesn't actually want to dress up.
Just be a damn witch. Put on all black leggings, black shirt, grab a black hat, call it a day.
I want to find out if people also feel this way.
No, they don't, because everybody likes to dress up for
I
Halloween.
don't think that. I really don't think everyone wants to dress up.
I don't know, man. I watched zombies the other night to prepare myself for my costume.
I hate you so much. The fact that you're being a fucking Disney character.
I've always wanted to be an alien. Might as well make it fun, a little spicy. She's not spicy,
I
a
did
little
consider
crazy.
I did consider our girl that we follow, Morgan Willett. She posted her Halloween costumes over the years, and they had been, what's her name? Danny and
Sandy and
Sandy.
Danny.
And I was like, I could pull off Sandy really easy because I already have pleather leggings. I would need a leather jacket and a bodysuit, but like, who doesn't want those anyways? But she's blonde and I'm not blonde, and I'm not fucking wearing a wig.
I was gonna say, get a wig.
I've tried wigs and they stress me out. I do not like how I look. It's not happening.
Well, I'm very excited. So, yeah.
I'm gonna find out if people like to dress up because I think there's people like me.
They
I would
do.
wear like a t-shirt and like I just want to be cozy. Like I want something festive, but I don't like being uncomfortable and like the whole thing and like the thought process and having to pay for a stupid costume that you wear one time.
So
Like
fun.
it's not fun to me.
Sad. I
Me
feel so sad for people.
anymore.
I feel so sad for people that don't like Halloween. Like, do you just not have joy? Do you not have scary times?
I like Halloween. I just don't need to dress up to enjoy the day.
Hmm. It's just the whole vibe, the whole experience.
I get my vibe off of like decorations and snacks, like themed parties. That's my vibe. It's like when I like to host things. I like to host a thing and have a theme. I don't actually want to host the event. I want people to come and do their thing and just like really relish in my experience I created for them, but I don't want to be like a participant.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm going balls to the wall.
I'm excited for that. If anyone would like an exclusive invite, you
Let me
can get an
know.
invitation from me if you pay a $10 cover charge to go towards Henley's raffle fees for her Disneyland trip for Dan.
And then you can come to the party. I'll add you to a list.
I'm gonna be the bouncer outside, making everyone pay me $10. That's happening. Everyone come with a 10.
Do it.
I'm monopolizing off of this. I gotta get this girl to Disneyland. I need some help.
Shit's expensive, man.
Yeah, dance is wild.
Yeah.
All right, anything else?
I don't think so.
All right, everyone. Your podcast host Shelby is coming at you live to let you know that our topic this week is about apologizing.
This one's going to be a hard one for me. I hate saying sorry.
That's what's so interesting to me. As I was thinking about this and like while I was like talking about how I got to this point of why we should talk about it, I don't think I really apologize very much, but there are certain times when I definitely know when to apologize. But I need to work on it a little bit more when it comes to adults. Like I'm really good at apologizing to my kids. I've made a conscious effort to make sure I apologize to them when I've done something that was unfair to them because of my emotions. And I think that's what led me to wanting to talk about this is last week, this week, I think it was this week. I don't know. Don't ask me. Sometime recently. I apologized to Henley while we were driving to school because like I was a little bit annoyed by certain things that had just happened that morning. I was annoyed by her dinking around, not listening to me the first time when I told her to go get dressed. And like I was already running behind. If I don't get her out the door at a certain time, then I have to take her to school rather than taking her to daycare, who will then take her for me. And then I was going to be later to work. I had a meeting at 8:45 and it was just like starting to cause like a bunch of chaos. And so I was like being a bit snippy with her. Like, if you would have gotten dressed the first time I asked you, like we wouldn't be in this situation. And if you would have done this, and why didn't you listen to me when I said this? Like, come on, hurry up. Like, I was just like very abrasive, and it stressed her out. So like then she gets in the car and she's just like upset. She's not crying necessarily, but you can tell she's sad. Then she's kind of sniffling because she's just like, and she just kept being like, I'm sorry, like I didn't know, and like all of these things. And I was just like driving, and I just kept thinking like, I need to apologize to her. Like, this is not her fault. I just ruined her whole entire fucking day. And am I really gonna let my kid go to school and live this day of just like sadness because I barked at her all morning of like, get your fucking shit together? So that's what led me to this epiphany, is how rarely people stop and apologize to their kids when they step out of line because of their own emotions. And then on top of that, how rarely we apologize to our friends, our spouse, our partners, our bosses, our coworkers, our family, all of these different people. And I just really wanted to bring awareness to this topic.
Yeah, I think it's great because it's honestly been a problem in Tony and I's relationship because I am very stubborn and I never say sorry. Like, I will do actions to let you know I'm sorry. Like, I'll make dinner and do the dishes instead of splitting it, or I'll like bring you home your favorite candy when I go to the grocery store. Like, I'll do things, but I won't actually say the words I'm sorry. And I don't know why I can't do that. It's like, I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, it's been a topic that we've talked about a lot because I never say sorry. I'm getting better, but it's still really hard for me to say sorry.
I I have a hard time communicating a lot of things verbally to Wally. Like,
Mhm.
not even just apologizing, but I'll think things like something I'm grateful for that he did, or I just want to like, I have a thought of like, wow, I'm really grateful that he does this. I should tell him. And then I just don't. And I can't figure out what that blockage is of
Mhm.
why I can't take the time to say that. I think it makes me too vulnerable, maybe. I don't
Mhm.
know. Um, I do try really hard, and I think therapy is what really helped me with this, is when I have made a misstep in like our conversation, I'm I'm usually at least willing to apologize for, that was unfair. I shouldn't have said that, or that was unfair. I like, I will own it. I don't know how often I necessarily apologize for it or say I'm sorry for it. I do know that I do sometimes, but I think for the most part, I'm at least owning the part where I'm like, I should say sorry, but I'm at least gonna own up to the fact that I recognize that. And then there's some times where I will actually say sorry for that.
Mhm. Mine is my therapist, she always tells me you can't say I'm sorry, but like it just needs to be I'm sorry, period. Because I'll be like, I'm sorry, but I said this because blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, that's not you saying sorry. Like, that is like trying to put the blame on him instead of like you shouldn't have said whatever you said or whatever the situation is. So I've been trying really hard to just be like, I'm sorry, and just leave it at that. Not, and I'm sorry, but I did it because of this.
I actually do that a lot because of therapy now too, and not even just with apologies, but like feedback, or when I'm trying to have a conversation and I'm trying to deliver a message and I don't want to say but. So I've been
Mm-hmm.
like, however, I would recommend this, or however, I I see it this way, or something like that, because it's very common for all of us to say but when we aren't actually needing to, because that's like the easiest out, that takes,
Mm-hmm.
that shifts kind of that dynamic. And so I've worked really, really fucking hard to not do that anymore. And I'm happy to share that people around me at work have started to do that also, because I'm so
Nice.
influential. I should just be a social media person. But it's true. Like, if you can recognize how that shifts the conversation and the tone of your conversation, that will really change those deliveries, regardless of what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, couple things that I have on apologizing is, we should apologize when we've done something wrong, hurt someone's feelings, said or done something offensive, been disrespectful, or violated someone's boundaries. And I
Mm-hmm.
think those are not exclusive. There's definitely more that you could add to this list, but I think when you're wondering when you should apologize, that's a good time for you to stop and reflect on that instance to decide what kind of category you can put that on or in, and why you're feeling like you might need to apologize, and what did you do that you feel like you need to, like, were you disrespectful, did you violate their boundary, did you hurt their feelings, were you too aggressive, like whatever it is. I think that it's important for you to identify the situation and what it is that you actually want to apologize for. You can't just be like, I'm sorry. Like,
Mhm.
you can't, like, it's just not possible. It's not acceptable.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and if you are having the Y bargain gene of being very stubborn, you have to put that stubbornness aside and recognize that you have hurt somebody, and or you have crossed the boundaries, or you've been disrespectful, whatever any of those things on that list was. You have to recognize that, like, you need to recognize when you need to say sorry.
Well, and another thing that kind of got me thinking about apologizing was, you had mentioned in our last week's episode about self-confidence and when it's like an ego problem. And that's when I was kind of like, yeah, people with freaking egos, like there's so many things that they do that just make things so hard. And I do believe that egos are a huge reason why people won't apologize. Like, you not wanting to apologize is because you don't want to deflate your ego, and you think that you, like, I don't know, like people just have this like sense of something with themselves that makes it so they're like, I'm not apologizing for that. I don't care.
Mhm.
Like, I can in my mind acknowledge I'm wrong, but I can't say that out loud because that's something on their ego and a reflection on them. And I wish I knew more of like the ego side of it, because I experience this a lot with a lot of people in my life, and it's just kind of like, what is this ego and what
Damn, did
is
you just give
that?
me a project to research? Because I'm putting that on my list and I will let you know.
You should.
Yeah.
But it is like,
Yeah.
that's what's so crazy to me, is like egos really get in the way of apologies. And I
Mhm.
think a lack of your self-development and awareness are huge on that too. As a mom, I definitely want to encourage people that you need to start apologizing to your kids often. Like, anytime I am raising my voice, or I'm having a tone, or I can tell that I like hit a really hard conversation, like even when it's like with my little fucking teenage son that deserves all of the conversations he's having right now, there's times where like after we've like settled and he's just in his room, I'll go in there and I'll sit down and I'll just be like, hey, I'm sorry I raised my voice, or I'm sorry that I had to have this conversation with you. I want you to know I love you. I don't say, but I want you to know I love you. I say, and I want you to know that I love you and I care about you. And I know that these conversations are hard for both of us. And I'm apologizing for my behavior, or that was hard for you to process. Like, those things are huge. If you cannot apologize to your children, you're gonna raise fucking assholes,
It's
and they're gonna
true.
resent you, and they're gonna be angry at you, and they're gonna rebel. Like, there's times where I hear people telling me stories where their parents are doing something, and I swear to God, if those parents, even as an adult child, if they do not apologize to their adult children for the stress and chaos they're bringing into their lives, like, you need to go figure your shit out, because you know better, and you should do it even when they're adults, because it's unfair, the stress that parents put on their children, and it makes me absolutely crazy. And I never want to be that mom that's like, I'm too egotistical or concerned with whatever, that I can't stop and say, I'm sorry that I put stress on you, I'm sorry that I had to have this conversation, I'm sorry that I raised my voice, I'm sorry, like whatever it is, you should want to apologize to your kids. That's it.
It's true. If you don't apologize to your kids, it messes them up. Like, my dad is a perfect example. He never apologized for anything. Even in the times that he was 100% in the wrong, he never would apologize. And his apologies always were, I'm sorry, but you did this to me, so that's why I reacted that way. And it was just like, well, then what's the fucking point of even saying sorry? Because clearly you're not sorry about it. And it's given me a lot of issues, and it's true. Like, you need to acknowledge when you do things wrong around your kids, and you need to be sorry for it.
I think it's just crazy to me. And like, have had conversations with both of my parents about these things. Shout out to my mom. I'm pretty sure she's listening to this. Um, there's been a lot that's happened in my childhood, and there's been a lot that I have a hard time with. I'm not able to process what the hell has happened. And there's times when I've called them both out on like, here's my understanding of a situation. And in those moments, had they just owned up to whatever it was happening in their life and just said, I'm sorry, I can't imagine how much that hurt you. I wish I could have been better. The resentment would slowly start to go away.
Mm-hmm.
And
100%.
it's just crazy to me. Like, even my grandma, sometimes I'm just like, if you could just recognize for a second how much stress and anger and chaos you sometimes brought into my life and didn't own up to it, and just say, I'm really sorry, that was fucked up. I wish I could have been better in that moment. Like, those things change people's perceptions. And I think it's huge. It happens for your kids, it happens for your friends, it happens to your for your family, like at work. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think people are appreciating how much goes into owning up to something and apologizing. It doesn't mean you can fix the past. You can't change that.
Yeah,
But you
yeah.
can let them know that, wow, I can appreciate that sucked and I'm really sorry.
I think that when you recognize what you did wrong as well, it puts it like in your own brain. Like, say I had a kid and I yelled at them, and or I had like a morning like you had with you and Henley. Like, it puts that in your brain that you recognize when stuff is starting to head down that same path, that you can kind of stop it before it escalates to the point that it escalated to. You know what I mean? So I feel like if you just are
Mhm.
aware of what you need to apologize for, and if you apologize for it and make that a thing, then you're just more aware in the future.
Well, and I think that there's something to the fact of like you stopping and thinking about that and just processing through all of those things and recognizing that each person in any encounter or any scenario has played a part. Like, any person has played a part to some extent. Either you didn't raise your voice, you didn't raise a concern, anything, like anything happening in your life, each of us has the ability to take action and do something. And if you can't stop and think about that for a second and just process like what just happened, because you know it's already pissing you off too. Like, that's what got me with Henley and I the other morning, where I was just like, that was a lot. Like, that I can recognize that I'm now frustrated. Now I can have a really bad day and she can have a really bad day, or I can reach behind me while we're driving and say, hey, I'm really sorry for how this morning went. I shouldn't have blamed you for anything. I know how hard it is to wake up in the morning. I should have been more aware and not assumed that your dad, who was sitting right there, would help you out. I should have made sure that that happened and not blame that on you. And so, like, I just told her, it's like, we both have to work together and have like work together to make sure we can get out the door in the morning, because it can be stressful. And had I not had that moment of clarity of like reflecting, I don't think she would have had a good day. And I don't think I would have had a good day. Like, that would have changed something in her mind too, where every morning she would be very stressed. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't want her to live with anxiety. Like, these types of things instill anxiety and stress and like bad behavior. And like, why would I not be willing to fix that?
Yeah, for sure.
Another point I wanted to bring up is that apologizing is a sign of maturity and growth. And I would 1000% say that's why I'm even able to have this conversation today. I have not always been this way. I'm a Leo, baby narcissist. I don't think I apologized for shit back in the day, or recognized honestly when I should apologize. And I think that it's huge that you can recognize that your maturity and your growth. This fucking bug is crawling next to me. Missed it. But like, I think it's important for you to recognize that, like, if you don't have the ability to have these conversations that we're having right now, that's kind of like a trigger for you of like, oh, maybe I'm not as mature as I thought, or maybe I'm not growing as much as I thought. And it's challenging to apologize when you've done something wrong. No one
Mm-hmm.
wants to do it. I
Yeah.
don't want to do it, but I can recognize what would happen if I don't. And I think the fact that people sit and play around in their head of like, should I say something? Just do it. Just get it off your chest. However you have to communicate it. Don't use the but word, but do it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I don't even know why I have such a hard time apologizing because I don't feel like I have a big ego. I just don't like doing it. And so
Does
I
it
don't
make you
know
feel
why.
awkward?
It makes me feel awkward, and I just feel like actions show more than words do. So that's why I just kind of default to like the action things. And Tony recognizes the actions that I do when I'm saying sorry, but he likes an actual like words. He's very big on like verbal communication, and he has to hear like, Tony, I'm sorry for this. And that's been so hard for me to get used to because I don't really know why I don't like apologizing. I don't feel like for me it's an ego problem. Maybe it is. I don't know. I haven't really ever thought about that or dove into that, but I don't
You
know. I
know
just
what?
don't like it.
You want to know what I think it is?
Yeah.
I should probably be a therapist. Just kidding. I'm probably not right. I probably have pieces of me that are right, but I would be willing to bet that part of why you don't want to apologize is because there has been something that he has done or somebody else has done, and they haven't owned up for that either. And so
Mhm.
because you're still upset or angry about something that they have also done that made you get to that point where you've done something that you need to apologize for, you in that moment are unwilling to be the person that gives. You're not going to be the person that's going to verbally acknowledge that you did something wrong when
Mhm.
they haven't fixed something. They're not taking action to fix that thing. And so that's why you're bringing it back to them with action of like, look, I don't need to apologize, but I can do things for you to help change that and help you know.
Mhm.
And you're wishing that they would actually not hurt you anymore, and you're wishing that they would take action to not make it so you have to deal with that again. Because I think
Yeah.
you still have like deep, like you have like a deep feeling at that point of like, but also we're not dealing with the fact that you got me to this point, which is unfair to say sometimes, but it's
Mhm.
very true that people and their actions and what they're doing can get you to a point of like, and this is why I fucking exploded.
Yeah. Yeah.
But your lack of communication to help them get to that before all plays into that. So I do believe though that's why you don't want to apologize, is because you're like, well, once your fucking street's clean, bro, maybe I'll apologize. But right now, I'll just be nice.
Yeah, I think that in some situations for sure, but actually, as you were saying that, I kind of had a little bit of an epiphany as well. I think it was because my dad, every problem that I have somehow resorts back to my dad. Let's just put it there, okay? But my dad, he used to say sorry, but it was always the I'm sorry, like I'm sorry I'm such a shitty dad. I'm sorry I'm such a terrible person. And so I just feel like the words I'm sorry doesn't really mean anything to me because I heard it so loosely all throughout my life up until his literal dying day. He would always, I'm sorry I was such a shitty dad. I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. Like it was just half ass apologies that when I hear I'm sorry, I'm just like, you can say these words all you want, but until you actually do actions that show me you're sorry, I don't believe that you're sorry is what I think my thing kind of goes back to.
But just because that's happened with your dad doesn't mean I'm trying to tell you that for
Yeah.
sure you're still upset about a situation that got you to the point where you explode, because I know who you are and how
Yeah.
you are, and you don't explode often.
I
And
don't. I
once
really
you
don't.
explode, it's because someone has done something and they have to change what they're doing, because you can't apologize at that point, because you're just like, you got me to this point because you're
Mhm.
not fucking listening to me. And I know that it's deep-seated resentment, and that's why you won't apologize.
Yes, it does. It does take me a long time to get to the point that I explode. It really does. Like, look at our friends that we gave up last year. How many years of complaining was I like, oh my God, this person's driving me nuts? Like, it takes so long for me to get to that point of bubbling over. And you're right. Once I do, I'm just like, fucking saying sorry is not even gonna fix it at this point. Like, I'm pissed. I'm done. You're cut off. I've given you so many chances and it just didn't happen. So,
Yeah, I definitely I was actually thinking about this is totally getting us off topic, but I was actually thinking about this the other day about how once you like hit your breaking point, like because you and I hit breaking points for sure, you have a hard time communicating that up to that point. And I think once
mhm.
you break, you spill like
It's like
all of the
word
things,
vomit. Yeah.
and because it can feel so heavy and so extreme and so hurtful because you haven't fully communicated it to that level,
Hmm.
at that point, I think you're a little bit like not embarrassed. I don't think that's the right word, but I think at that point, you're like a bit disappointed that you said the things that you said because you let yourself get to that point. And because you're
Hmm.
at that point, you're like, I don't really want to apologize for that and bring more awareness to that because
Yeah,
A, they
for
haven't
sure.
changed. I'm still fucking pissed. And B, like, I don't want to bring more awareness to the fact that I just fucking blew up.
Yeah, for sure. Because, yeah, I word vomit everything and then I feel bad because I'm like, that was really harsh. Like, I should have, like, taken this in baby steps, like, 2 months ago, been like, so this is really irritating me. And then, like, the next month I bring something else up instead of all of a sudden it's like, here it is. Enjoy, bitch. Like,
Honestly,
ugh.
like I for sure will grab popcorn for when that happens, and I shouldn't. Like that's not funny. I should probably give you more advice before then. But like people are who they are, and I fucking sign up for that and enjoy it. Like when it happens, I'm like, yeah.
Because I have
But
facts.
it's
Like
not healthy, honestly.
it's
Like it's not
not. It's
like it's not
not.
a
But
good
like when
trait.
I explode, I have like a list. Like I just make a list. Like you did this, you did this, da 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 da. This is why I feel this way. And then at the end, they'll be like, "I'm really sorry that I'm saying all this, but it's where we're at. So not healthy way to deal with things.
You
Don't
also
worry."
don't like you don't really leave the door open for them to fix it at that point either. You're like, here's all
Mm-mm.
my fucking receipts. Sorry I got to this point. Doors closed. Bye.
Yeah,
Like
that's
it's not like
100%.
we're having a conversation about it. It's like fucking bye.
Yeah, because I feel like I shouldn't even be talking about this because this is clearly not healthy at all. But in my mind,
I shouldn't be laughing.
I feel like I've given you the facts, I've given you the receipts, you see what it is, and like there's no coming back from that. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, give it a few years and yeah, I'll be around to like talking again or like going and getting a coffee for sure, but like I need some time, you know? Not healthy. I'm getting therapy in a few weeks. You guys, it's fine. Maybe this is another download from the ketamine.
I was just gonna say I feel so bad that this is just like all of a sudden come out and like it's not even funny, but it's so it's so funny to me because like we all are who we are. Like we all have different things that we have to work on and improve. Totally unrelated to apologizing, but whatever. Still
There's
love
one of
you.
my there's a part of my shadow that you guys get to see, okay? We're working on it. It's a trauma response for me. I for sure think it's a trauma response is I give people a lot of wiggle room, which I definitely need to be better with my communication about things, but once that wiggle room is used up, like it's used up. So,
I mean, I honestly wonder though, too, back to what you were saying about your dad, like maybe that's why it gets you to that point. Like maybe that whole like I'm not apologizing because apologies are fucking fake. And
mhm.
also I don't want to bring something up because I don't want a fake apology. And so maybe that really is what's causing you to get to this point is
Mhm.
because you don't want to hear their fake apologies because you're assuming that that's what it would be and that they won't change
Mhm.
because you've already kind of made up your mind on that. But then on top of that, you don't really want to have to apologize to them for what you want to say because you really like to say like here's something that's bothering me and I'm sorry, but this is just what I feel. And you don't need to
Mm-hmm.
apologize for that. Like you shouldn't have
Yeah.
to apologize for that. But I think because of your past, you feel like you have, if you're going to deliver some feedback like that, you need to apologize with it, which
Mm-hmm.
brings me to what I actually also need to talk about is over apologizing is a trauma response. And I think that's what you're probably doing
Yeah. Yeah,
is
for
like this
sure.
is a trauma response. So if I would give feedback, I would need to apologize for it. And I don't want to because I already in my mind have made up they're not changing because of your trauma response because of your dad.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's like a whole for full circle like conversation around it. But I do think that that's probably why all of these are playing out like that in your life and why you get to
Mm-hmm.
that point and why you don't want to apologize because you don't believe that people will fix it because your trauma response from your dad.
Yeah, for sure.
Girl, stop apologizing.
Look at that. We just did a whole therapy session and I don't even have to pay you.
I was just gonna say $200, please. It'll go towards Henley's Disneyland trip.
I'll buy some extra raffle tickets.
Great, fabulous. But no, I do think that that really does happen. Don't want to beat you up. This isn't me being like my
No.
spicy smart ass self, but like
Yeah.
that's very applicable to I think what can happen to a lot of people. And I used to be someone that would definitely like I would over apologize, but in like dumb ways. Like
Mm-hmm.
mine aren't tied to things to this level. I do want to figure out why I used to do them. I've like worked really hard since Rachel Hollis to not say sorry for certain things. And so mine were tied more to those types of things. But over apologizing is 1000% a trauma response where people don't want to have a voice or they feel like they shouldn't have said something because they shouldn't have a voice because of all the weird things that have happened. And so I think it's important for people to recognize if they're over apologizing in whatever capacity, identifying where that's coming from. Like, what is that that's causing you to do such extreme apologies?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's insane to me sometimes where like I'll notice I'm walking and someone's like kind of in my way and I'll say I'm sorry. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, why am I sorry for just fucking walking? Like I didn't even do anything wrong. Or like instead of saying excuse me or like so
Move
many
out of
different,
my way.
yeah, like so many different things. People are always like, oops, sorry. And it's like, sorry for what?
Yeah.
Literally, what are we sorry for? And so it really took me a long time to start deciding like, why am I apologizing? And I think it comes back to, especially when you do need to apologize, like, why are you apologizing? And if you're doing it for reasons that you don't need to apologize for, fucking stop. Just don't do
Yes.
it. Work
Yes.
on it. Get a not sorry necklace like we got. Like, remember that you don't need to apologize for things that you don't need to apologize for.
Yes, for sure.
People that have people that are married or have partners or family that are like gaslighters, they apologize a lot and that's a trauma response. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of identify those different things. I really do feel like this might be why you don't apologize, like
It's
this
because
whole
I was gaslit by my
no,
dad.
like all those different things that we just talked about, like I'm
Oh,
just
yeah.
really like bringing it back and I'm like, wow, I can see why you get to this point. Like, I do think you've made up your mind that people like this is for sure a trauma response thing for you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Huh.
Thanks, Ketamine Download, for helping solve another big piece of my life.
Well, I have some steps for apologizing. I don't know if you have any other points you want to hit on apologizing.
I don't think so. I think this has been a very big learning experience for me.
I feel so shitty
Why?
because I just like we just did that on like a public platform and I
I
feel really
don't
bad. I didn't
care.
even ask your permission. I just learned the other day at work that you should start asking people for permission before
Oh
you
my
say.
gosh. I don't
I was like,
care. I
fuck
feel
you.
like when you sign up for a podcast, like shit's gonna be out there and it's fine.
Fair enough. Well, very sorry for unlocking that conversation. I do actually feel sorry for that. And I want to
No, it's
apologize because
fine.
I could have crossed a boundary and I didn't know about it. So
No, it's really okay. I promise. I really think that that was a ketamine download. I'm not even kidding because I just got so tired, and I feel like that's what happens. Like you
That's
just get
so
tired.
weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have steps to apologizing for anyone who's ready to start processing this. All of the other things we just talked about for sure are part of that. I do truly believe maturity and growth are a huge, huge aspect to that. Awareness, huge aspect to that. If you're a mom, fucking apologize to your kids all the time. Dads too. Well, I should do that. But here are my steps for apologizing. First, you need to recognize why you want or need to apologize. And I did already touch on that, but I think that's huge. Like, don't
Mhm.
just apologize. That is your trauma response, or that's a response that you were trained to have. Know why you're apologizing for sure.
And don't just apologize because like you can see that like you hurt the other person's feelings. Like actually in your bones know why you're saying sorry.
Yeah, like if Wally and I are having like a conversation and it gets to a point where it's like, dang, like I might need to apologize, I'm going to reflect back on what I actually want to apologize for, because there's parts of it that needed to happen. There's parts of that conversation that needed to come out and we needed to talk about those. But there's probably some times where I crossed a line and I want to apologize for that, not the whole situation,
Conversation. Yeah.
not admitting I'm in the wrong, but more of like, okay, there's a piece in here that I probably need to own up to that wasn't fair. I wasn't fighting fair in that moment. And so that's what I think is the hugest part, is just identifying why and what, for sure.
Hmm.
Don't wait to apologize. This one, I have got to work on this for sure, especially with adults.
Yeah.
I think there's time, I think it's hard for me to like, I think I'm doing a good job on the mom side of things. It's the adult work, I'm pretty good at that one. It's like friends and family that I'm like, I need to work more on that side and not waiting, because now there's probably times where it's been too late.
Hmm.
And I don't want to do that whole like months down the road where it's like, I'm really sorry, like 7 months ago
But
I
I did
did
this.
this, like, don't wait, because at that point
What's
it's
the
water
point?
under the bridge, but it's not good water. Like, it's
Yeah.
not water you want the bridge, and you can't really fix it at that point. It's been too much. So I think waiting is not recommended. I think you don't have to do it immediately. I think a certain period of time, I don't know what that time is. You should probably determine that for yourself, but if you can do it immediately and you know it's going to impact somebody in a bad way, you should do it as soon as you can. If it's like we might need like a day or two, I don't think it should go past that, honestly.
Hmm. I agree.
I think it's huge to do it in person if you can. Sending a text message does not help necessarily. Um, an email probably isn't going to help either.
But
Sometimes you have to go through those things. A personal letter or a card could also be helpful,
mhm.
but there are times when a text message is likely needed or an email is likely needed, but I think if you can do it in person or maybe FaceTime, you should do that.
But if you do have a hard time apologizing, i.e., Taylor Brown, I did start with apologizing over text, and my therapist said that's the first step. If you have a hard time with it, don't rely on that step. But even just typing out the words, I'm sorry for da 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 da, that's a big first step. I am to the point now that I am saying it in person, but I did have to start with text messages because it was so hard for me.
That's fair. I do think that's part of like confidence building too, kind of like we talked
Mhm.
about last week. Having the confidence to face that is very different than doing it through a different communication platform. And so I think as often as you can, I'm not encouraging you to hold their hand and stare into their eyes and say you're sorry unless you want to.
Oh, it's
Sure,
weird.
feel free. Did your therapist have you guys do that? Like not
Yes.
apologize, but like you have to stare into each other's eyes.
Yes, and I hated that so much. Like that's a good thing about like her only doing Zoom is we don't have to like hold each other's hands and stare at each other in our eyes and say something because that shit was so awkward and so like inauthentic to me. I hated
You
it.
know, God, this is so weird that we're having this conversation because we were just at Lagoon and God, if you want to be around a bunch of teenage heartthrobs that are just like obsessed with each other,
Yeah.
go to Lagoon. So we were at Lagoon and waiting in lines, and there was a ton of teenagers, like little cute teenage couples, and I'd just like kind of be watching them, and I kept having this thought of like the amount of eye contact that teenagers have with each other and like the deep feelings you can see them having as they're staring in each other's eyes
So
was
uncomfortable.
blowing my mind. And like they're not uncomfortable at all. And I just kept thinking like how weird that once you get into a relationship that's like a lot longer and like more adult, you don't want to do that. Like there's no
Mhm.
fucking way I've stared at Wally's eyes that much. These teenagers are straight up just like,
But that's like how we used to be, like when we were teenagers.
I guess I don't fully remember it necessarily. I'm sure we were, but I was just kind of like, eye contact is something that something has happened that's made it so you don't want to face them eye to eye because that's like a very vulnerable place to
It's yeah,
be.
very intimate.
Yeah. And like, I was just sitting there like, wow, so much happens in life and relationships that like it starts with this and eventually gets to the point where if I had to go to therapy and she wanted me to do that on a couch, I would be like, I'm just not. No, like literally,
Sorry.
I would not do it. I know for a fact I'd be like, I'm not doing that.
It's so uncomfortable.
But that's just so crazy to me. Like, it's definitely this weird, vulnerable thing. And it's weird that this just came up because I was processing this at Lagoon. Like, this is so weird that people do this and they have no idea what's going on in their life. And they're just like so vulnerable, so in love, so passionate in their eyes. And I'm just like, oh my God, life is so hard.
It is. It's so crazy.
But anyways, back to the list. Do it with your eye contact if you would like. Do it in person if you can. I do fully agree. It does take time to get to that point. You do need confidence. You need to be vulnerable. You need to be able to like verbalize and literally face that, and owning that and facing it is super, super challenging.
Mhm.
Be honest and sincere in your apology. I think that that's obvious. I think some people tend to just give apologies and not actually have meaning behind it. So just make sure that that's honest and sincere. Own your side of the street and don't say because you did this or because you said that. Own what you actually found. Like what was your why? Own up to that of why you wanted to apologize or needed to apologize and like clear up your street. What was that book we read about that?
I was trying to think when you said that earlier, and I was like, what book was that? I can't remember.
I know what it is.
What?
I don't want to say it because she's a fucking fake ass. Jana Kramer
Oh,
and
yeah,
her husband,
yeah.
they're divorced now. They got divorced like right after this book actually came out.
That is the
But
book.
it was a good book. I actually got a lot of stuff out of it. I think
Mhm.
because they went through a lot of therapy because of how bad it was. We should actually link that for people because I took a lot of stuff out of that
Mhm.
my relationship wasn't nearly as bad as theirs. Sorry to say that, but I got a lot of like relationship tips out of that.
Yeah, just don't follow her on Instagram or anything else now.
I mean, maybe she's fine for some people. I liked her for a little bit, but she's just like really obsessed with herself.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I got that part is owning your side of the street is huge. Like own up to the why or the what and don't justify it. Don't make an excuse for it. You have to be humble and genuine. Offer an explanation or understanding for your behavior, not an excuse. Like I just said, like own up to that, clear your side of the street, don't make an excuse, don't justify it. And you actually have to say sorry. I know we talked about this. You actually have to say it.
Mhm.
Let them know you'll work on it to be better, but you actually have to mean that if you're going to do it. So like if you like, don't just say that because I listed this in my steps. If you actually want to work on it, actually say that. Otherwise you'd be kind of like Taylor's dad, where you're like saying it, you're justifying it, and then you're not going to do anything to make it better at that point. Yeah. Identify the issue, figure out what it was that caused you to get to that point or to say those things, and work on them. Like talk to whoever it was about those things, and then also work on fixing that disconnect with you. Otherwise, saying sorry is not worth it. And then I've actually never done this, but the internet said this was part of the steps because I looked at some of their steps, and it says sometimes you need to request forgiveness.
Yeah, I've never, well, I mean, I guess I did do that, but
I've just never, I mean, I guess like a very, very few things, but I can't really recall a time where like to my kids I've been like, do you forgive me?
yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like I think that's like a case by case basis.
I think it really depends on what's happened for sure. But yeah, if you feel like you need to request forgiveness because it's that extreme, make sure you do that.
Yep.
And that's all I got.
I think that's great.
That's a lot. Apologies are a lot. And like the Timbaland song, it might not be too late to apologize.
I was actually singing in my head, is it too late now to say sorry? You know that song?
You put that on our Zoom.
Yeah, because I had it stuck in my head.
Who sings that song?
Justin Bieber and
sorry. Okay.
somebody else.
Yeah. I saw that and I was like, how funny that when I brought up apologizing, I was like, it's too late to apologize.
I do love that song.
That's what went through my mind. And then I saw your Zoom title and I was like, how funny that our minds are always in different places.
Yeah.
Not a bad thing, but.
All right. I don't know if you guys saw me smiling. We were getting towards the end of the list because I saw her asking for a friend. And I just cannot keep it together because I am disgusted. And I hope that the person that asked this doesn't do this. So, you guys are not even ready for this. I don't even know if I can say it. Sorry, Mom. Hashtag asking
you're like breathing hard.
I know I'm stressed. Oh, asking for a friend. Do people itch their butt crack and then smell their fingers? I've heard that people like that. Nobody likes that. Nobody likes that. I fucking cannot. And so then we were talking about what asking for a friend to do from our submissions. Shelby said that it's this thing that like people will stick pencils down their casts and then smell them after. I truly think I might puke right now. I cannot.
Okay, like I was saying about the casting, this could be very similar to that. There's a name for it. And I've read an article about this before somewhere on the internet. But there's people out there that like to smell like weird, gross, like either bodily fluids. Like people are like, oh, I like the smell of sex, or I like
oh, stop.
I don't say this isn't me. This is not me. But there's people that for sure like that's like a thing. And so I researched the actual condition, I guess I would call it.
Yeah, it's for sure a condition.
But there's also like other words for it. And so like there's people out there that like the smell of chlorine, or there's people out there that like the smell of meat, or you know, like there's just people like certain smells and certain tastes, like their senses really enjoy something different.
Hey, people don't like the smell of their fucking butt crack.
I'm not joking. I've read an article about this. So what it is called, so there's people out there that want to smell these things. And normally it would like disgust the rest of us, but apparently the name for this is benign masochism, I would assume. Let me see if I can Google this specifically. Oh my God.
Stop. I'm so scared by your faces right now.
What the fuck?
What are you reading?
National Geographic just like linked me to this thing, and it's saying a corpse flower, which I'm not sure what the fuck that means. Smells like a heady mix of rotten fish, sewage, and dead bodies.
What?
And
This is not.
it's just talking about this benign masochism, and I don't even know.
Ew, it's literally a flower.
Ew.
Oh my God. When you touch the spadix of a corpse flower, so it's like a flower, you guys will have to Google a corpse flower, but it's like a flower with like a big thing in the middle. That was a very stressful hand motion I just made. But if you touch the spadix of a corpse flower, it feels almost human, full of blood, and you might expect to feel your hand pulse at its heartbeat.
It looks like a penis. What the fuck? Anyways, back to the benign masochism. It refers to enjoying initially negative experiences that the body or brain falsely interprets as threatening. And so I think that like most of us would be like, nope, not for me. But for some reason, these people like they really like those smells.
Ugh, I'm so disgusted.
And you know
Yeah,
what? Now that we say this, I remember in elementary, like watching people like put
it's
pencils
their
in their
butt.
cast and like have the pencil by their face.
Oh.
I've
I have to
also
shout out to my coworker Tanya. She's amazing. She takes off every single cast for me because I cannot handle the smell of casts. I think that they are so disgusting.
wait, I have a story.
What?
I've also
Here.
heard of like therapists for like kids who have kids that will like touch their privates and sniff.
Why?
Maybe they have this thing. I don't know. I didn't ask that question. I was just like, what the
Stop.
fuck? Like, what do you
In
think?
the middle of therapy?
I can't reveal how I have this information right now, but that's definitely a story. And I wonder if that's one of those things where it's like that smell, like
Brings.
that normal body smell that like most of us would be like, no, something is like something about that. They like that.
Interesting.
I don't know what it means.
Well, you guys, if you are going around itching your butt crack and smelling your fingers, please do it in the privacy of your own home and wash your hands after. That's just how you get pink eye, and I can't.
I will definitely say there's been times where I have like had a wedgie and my thong needed to not be where it was, and I immediately wash my hands after. Like,
Yes.
not risking that, not risking
Yes.
smelling that.
Nope, not doing it.
Not happening.
Not doing it.
However, to answer the asking for a friend, which can't even process it, this is our asking for a friend. Yes, people do that. It's called benign, blah, 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 blah.
Well, if you do that, please don't tell me. I don't want to know. Yeah. So, you guys, on that note, there's our episode.
I don't know what happened on this podcast. This is why we got that terrible freaking review that I posted on Instagram.
Yeah,
This
for real.
section is exactly why she said it's fucking horrible.
Yeah. Well, you guys, thank you so much for listening and listening to our rants. Make sure you like, subscribe, rate, and review.
Give us a good one.
Yes, and if you don't know how to rate and review, we actually have had a few people ask us this. If you're on Apple Podcasts, you just scroll all the way down and there's a button that says write a review and there's 5 stars. You can click how many stars you want to leave. So that's how you leave a review on Apple. That's where I listen to my podcast. I don't know anywhere else. Just look for the stars and the button that says write a review. Okay?
I would assume if you're listening to it on like Spotify or something like that, that there's still like a podcast page, which is
Mm-hmm.
that's where you have to do it on Apple. Like you have to go to the podcast page, not just the episodes. So you click on
Mm-hmm.
like Champs Drink Champs, and it'll take you to all of our episodes and like kind of the bio about our podcast. And that is where you would do it. And I'm on Spotify right now and I'm looking at it and it says we have 0 ratings on Spotify. So if you listen to us on Spotify, go to the podcast page, make sure you're following us, and then there will say a spot where you can put the rating in. So please,
Yeah, so do that.
please help us out because that lady that put that negative review actually triggered me for a second, and I was gonna be like, fuck you. And then I was like, we don't know you. Sorry you didn't like it. But like people like us. So like, can you make it so I don't have to just see bad stuff? Thank you very
Please.
much. I would appreciate that.
All right. So thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure you're also following us on YouTube so you can see all of our shenanigans in real life. And we love you guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.